Shalawam. I want to first give all credit to YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI and a double honors to the apostles and the elders of Greatmillstone. Back with another article lesson. This one comes at you from Fox News. It states, "Who boss pleads for world to come together again after coronavirus, prevent the next pandemic." And as always, just want to get into some of this article and back it up with some precepts. But further reading, it says the head of the World Health Organization is pleading with global leaders to come together after the coronavirus pandemic to prevent the next global health trauma. The WHO tweeted, "I continue to call for the world to come together in solitary and national unity to confront the hashtag COVID-19 pandemic, but also to prevent the next one, and to build a healthier, safer, fairer world for everyone everywhere." Um, and it just pretty much goes into other things, but I'm not going to get into it. But the point of making this video, just to get into the fact that the society and the world, for that matter, they believe in coming together to to fight certain causes when Yahawah Bahashaam Yahawashi, he's actually for segregation, and especially when it comes to the nation of Israel, which are these so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians. Yahawah Bahashaam Yahawashi, he's not for all nations coming together. He, like I said, he actually set it up for all nations to be separate. Last time, and I'm going to get into it, but the last time, the nations, all pretty much all nations, came together in the ancient world. That's when Yahawah Bahashaam Yahawashi, confounded the language, and I'm going to get into it a little bit, starting with Genesis, the 11th chapter. It says, Genesis 11:1, it says, "And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And Yahawah came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And Yahawah said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they began to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do." So basically, this was a time after the flood, all nations coming together, to basically to deal wickedly. After the flood, the nations, made it up in their hearts um to basically, so that basically, if Yahawah Bahashaam Yahawashi, in their minds, if Yahawah Bahashaam Yahawashi decided to flood the earth again, that basically, they had it in their minds that, to build this tower that reached all the way into the heavens so that they wouldn't, perish. So, just showing the point that, when all nations come together, is typically is for wickedness. It's not for good. And this is why, Yahawah Bahashaam Yahawashi, well, actually reading on in verse 7, it says, Go to, let us go down, and they're confounded their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So Yahawah scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. So again, all these nations coming together. This was a time when, the all nations spoke one language. And this is the this unprecedented event where Yahawah Bahashaam Yahawashi came down and confounded the language, which caused which caused a lot of confusion. Um, just to show you that how YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, he's not with all nations coming together. And especially when it comes to our people, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, we're not supposed to be mixing and mingling with these different nations, because YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI created the nation of Israel to be he created the nation of Israel to basically set the standard. Um, YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI set it up to where the nation of Israel is supposed to um, you know, to set the standard on and keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, and to teach the other nations on how to keep, to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. So basically, YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI created the nation of Israel to be, a kingdom of priests. And Lord's will, I'm gonna get that later on, but 2 Kings 17 and 15. It says, and they rejected his status and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them, and they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom Yahweh had charged them that they should not do like them. So again, YAHWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, he's not with all nations coming together, and especially when it comes to the nation of Israel, which again are you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, because these heathens, they worship idolatry, they worship vanity, and a lot of our people, they look up and go after these false gods and these false deities and whatnot. Again, because YAHWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI created it and set it up to where the nation of Israel is supposed to be the standard on this earth. I'm gonna go to the book of Tobit. Chapter 4 and verse 12. It says, beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of thy father's tribe. For we are the children of the prophets, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they all married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. So, the nation of Israel, we're supposed to be, basically, YAHWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI set up to where, we're supposed to be like a tight knit family. In the days of old, you had our forefathers, YAHWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI commanded us not to even, take to wife, women of these other nations, because, if you read the history about King Solomon, where, he had, basically he had a 1,000 wives and concubines, and, as King Solomon, got up there in age, he began to, build altars for, because the thing about King Solomon, he had wives and concubines, but of the other nations. So, and it eventually it got to the point where King Solomon was building, altars and temples, for these false gods that his wives and his concubines that they dealt with, basically causing King Solomon to go off. Which is why, again, YAHWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI set it up to where we're supposed to be, basically keep it in the family, keep the bloodline pure, keep the seed pure, because, us mixing and mingling with these nations, it's just going to cause confusion, and, you might get with an Israelite man might get with a Moabite woman, and, that child might come up, might come up, in confusion. He might start worshiping. I don't even know what these Moabites worship. But basically, I guess, like, what is it, like, basically the fat Chinese man. I don't know if that's Hinduism or I don't even know what it is, but basically that child, he's going to go astray from his heritage, corrupting the righteous seed. You know, even though that child may be an Israelite, here it is. He's getting into Hinduism and all this other, basically polluting, the righteous seed, because if that child grows up in idolatry, that how's that child going to raise their children, and how's those children going to raise their children, and so on and so forth. So, you know, um, again, this is why just read in Tobit chapter 4, verse 12, it says, beware of all whoredom, because you have physical fornication and you have spiritual fornication, which is in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 12. It says, for the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the intention of them, and the intention or invention of them, the corruption of life. So again, you got physical fornication and you have spiritual fornication. When we're mixing and mingling with these different nations and whatnot, it causes all types of confusion. It causes all type of spiritual whoredom and fornication, causing us to go astray. So, again, that's why YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI set it up, for all nations, not to be mixing and mingling. There's a saying that, segregation is probably the best thing that's ever happened to, the nation of Israel, which is pretty much true. Um, I had this precept that I got it. What is that? First Esdras, not second. First Esdras chapter 9 and verse 9. But yeah, like I said, segregation is probably the best thing that happened for the nation of Israel. Yeah, this is it. First Esdras chapter 9 verse 9, it says, and do his will and separate yourselves from the heathen of the land and from the strange woman. This is Esdras basically talking to the multitude of the nation of Israel, because during this time, a lot of Israelites, they were mixing and mingling with the other nations. The Israelites were taking wives of the other nations, and Ezra was confronting them about it. And again, reading it says, and do his will. See, this is the will of the Heavenly Father, to separate yourselves from the other nations. I'm just read that verse again. It says, do his will and separate yourselves from the heathen of the land and from the strange women. Matter of fact, I'm gonna read it verse 7. First Esdras chapter 9 and verse 7. It says, so Esdras arose up and said unto them, ye have transgressed the law in marrying strange wives, thereby to increase the sins of Israel. So again, going back to verse 9, it says, and do his will and separate yourselves from the heathen of the land. So this is the will of the Heavenly Father, that we don't mix and mingle with these different nations. Because again, this is a transgression of the law, marrying these strange wives, and you causing all type of sin, and like I said, different all types of confusion. You're polluting the seed. The YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, again, he didn't set it up for things to be this way. From the it wasn't supposed to be like this. Because again, the nation of Israel was supposed to be a close and tight knit family. We're supposed to keep it keep it within the nation. Going to 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 14. It says, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? So again, understanding that, we are living in the times that we're in right now, and it's understandable. We might have to deal with the nations to on a certain level, to a certain extent, but basically, throughout the Bible, and throughout the scripture, it talks about walking circumspect, not trusting your enemy, because you got to be aware of these things, because these nations, though they'll act friendly in your face, man, in their heart, these nations could give a damn about you. These nations, they hate a so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American Indian. So, like I said, it was never set up for the nation of Israel, or any nation at that, to be, mixing and mingling with each other. But again, due to the curses that were put upon us, you have a lot of nations, you have a lot of our people scattered amongst the nations. And, I believe it tells you that in the book of Romans, how, basically, because you could be talking to someone who might be, or who might look like an Edomite, but, the brother could be a Jake, or the sister could be a Jake, and we're in the times where, again, it's the spirit that's going to, start causing that separation. Because again, YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, he believes in, segregation, get that up in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 9. We're coming into times where, as these race wars are about to start popping off, all these nations, they're going to start going back to all these, these nations that, there may be, again, there might be one nation, but, or they might look like one particular nation, but they might be, from a, from a, their fathers might go back to another nation. And the spirit, again, we're living in the times where the YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, he's going to cause that separation. He's going to put that spirit to where, basically you're going to start flocking to your nation. Let me get that in the, go to the blue letter Bible. Jeremiah 51, verse 9. Everybody's going to start, basically flocking to their hometown, so to say. Jeremiah 51 and verse 9, it says, "We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go, everyone into his own country. For her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies." And the point that I want to get is when it says, "and let us go, everyone into his own country." So, again, because the Lord, he deals with segregation, so again, we're living in a time where, these different nations, they're going to start flocking to their own country, their own people, their own kindred. And again, as you start seeing these race wars pop off, again, you might have someone might look like an Edomite, or someone might look like a so-called Chinese or Japanese, but they could be a Jake. It's all according to the spirit. And again, YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, we're living in a time where he's going to cause that division. As all hell starts breaking loose out here, people are going to flock to their kindred. Because again, it was just never meant for the all nations to come together. YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, he was never with that. And you got Facebook and all these different social media platforms, which is basically the modern day, which is basically Genesis chapter 11 all over again. All this basically just a platform for all nations to come together, and come together for wickedness, But again, dealing more so with the nation of Israel, especially us, we're not supposed to be dealing with, mixing and mingling with these different nations. Even our forefathers, man, they knew these things, and go to the book of Genesis chapter 24. I'm starting at verse 1. It says, "And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, And Yahweh hath blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by Yahweh, the power of heaven, and the most high of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell. So here it is. This is our forefather Abraham, being on his deathbed. He's making his servant swear unto him out of all things that he could have asked for. He's making his servant swear unto him not to take a wife for his son Isaac, not to take a wife from among these Canaanites, which are these so-called Africans. Okay. Just to show you the importance of, especially when it comes to the nation of Israel, basically keeping the seed line, the bloodline pure, not defiling the bloodline. Reading on to verse 4, it says, But thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred and take a wife unto my son Isaac. So again, just going into how important it is, keeping the bloodline pure. Again, here it is, Abraham. This is on his deathbed. He's making this servant swear unto him. He's making this servant swear unto him, not to take a wife of these dirty, stinking, filthy Africans, so-called, because again, pretty much everything that you see going on today with these, as far as these false gods and whatnot, all this goes back to these, these Hamites, the worshiping of the sun god and all these different idolatry. Pretty much all, like the land of Sodom and Gomorrah, those were so-called Africans. So basically everything that you see going on today, with all these idol worship, it goes back to these Africans. These are very disgusting, very polluted people. So again, so Abraham commanded this servant to swear unto him, to take a wife to go into, basically to the family lineage and, find a wife for his son Isaac out of his own country, from his own kindred. Genesis chapter 25, Isaac did the same thing on his deathbed. That's not it. Genesis 28, I think it is. Yeah. Genesis chapter 28, starting at verse 1, it says, And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him. This was a commandment, Isaac, to his son, and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. So here it is again, Isaac, commanding his son Jacob not to go into the filthy, stinking Africans to take a wife. It says, verse 2, it says, Arise, go to Padanaram, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. And the Most High Almighty bless thee and make thee fruitful and multiply thee, and thou mayest be a multitude of people. So again, basically, just going back to keeping that bloodline pure, keeping the seed pure and not defiling the seed with, these other nations. Because again, YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, he's not with, all nations coming together. Here it is again, Isaac, commanding, he gave a strict charge, a commandment to Jacob to take a wife of it, of his own family, keeping the bloodline, the seed line pure, because again, more so talking about the Israelites, so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, set it up to where the nation of Israel is supposed to set the standard on the earth. We're the ones that are supposed to show the other nations on how to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. So we, to the nation of Israel, definitely, We're not supposed to be mixing and mingling with these different nations or whatnot. Because again, I'm gonna go ahead and get that. Exodus chapter 19, verse. Um, I'm gonna start at verse 3. Exodus 19 and verse 3. It says, "And Moses went up unto the Most High, and Yahweh called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel." So just wanted to show that, basically Yahweh, um, he's basically, this is a message to this to the Israelites, to the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. Jumping to verse 5, it says, "Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel." So just wanted to get the point how, again, um so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, we're the ones that are supposed to set the standard, because again, Yahawah Bahashem Yahawashi set it up to where the nation of Israel would be the priests of the Most High. So um, in a sense, the same way that Yahawah Bahashem Yahawashi gave the law, statutes, and commandments to Moses to give to the nation of Israel. Pretty much the same way Yahawah Bahashem Yahawashi is given the law, statutes, and commandments to the nation of Israel to teach the other nations on how to live, because these other nations, they again, they have different false gods, and they worship all manner of idolatry. Every one of these nations, they have different gods and different gods that they worship. But the nation of Israel, we're supposed to set these other nations in order. And to back that up, First Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. Yeah, it says, First Peter chapter 2 verse 9. It says, "But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." So again, Yahawah Bahashem Yahawashi chose the nation of Israel to be that royal priesthood. Okay. We were the ones to we are the standard on showing these other nations in the world on how to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahawah Bahashem Yahawashi. So again, especially in these times that we're living in, of course, the scriptures tell you to, be at peace with all men if possible. But, again, because I mentioned earlier, just being in the times that we're living in, it's understandable. We have to deal with these nations a certain way. But, as far as, getting on the deep level with these other nations, going to work and, after work, have drinks with the other nations and all that, we shouldn't be really be taking part of that. You deal with these other nations at work, and afterwards you go home and you take care of your business. Because at the end of the day, and again, we're living in those times where these um people are going to start showing their true colors. And when these race wars start breaking off, it's definitely going to be, these nations are definitely going to start showing their colors. And they're definitely going to flock to their nation, flock to their country. So just once again, Yahawah Bahashem Yahawashi, he doesn't believe in all nations coming together, because when the nations come together, I'll probably end it off with this. When the nations come together, it's to deal with wickedness. And when these nations come together, Um, it's when these nations come together today, it's the plot against the nation of Israel on how to keep us down. And going to the book of Psalms, the 83rd chapter, start of verse 1, it says, "Keep not thou silence, O Most High. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Most High. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones." So again, when these nations come together today, in today's age, it all goes back to wickedness. When they come together today, it's they plot on how to keep the nation of Israel in a state of sin. But you know, um, here it is. You got the nation of Israel waking up throughout the four corners of the earth. So I mean, again, it's all through the spirit of YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. He's causing his people to wake up. So just wanted to do this quick lesson. Lord's will was edifying. So, with that being said, I want to say the water YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. And I'll give a sincere shalawam to the apostles and elders of Greatmillstone. And until next time, I say shalawam.